Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news making headlines today. Samsung Electronics has announced record results for 2025 with its semiconductor business driving the company to its highest ever annual revenue. On Thursday, the company reported an annual revenue of 333.6 trillion won, around $233.7 billion, and an increase in operating profit of more than 33% from the year before, worth approximately $30.5 billion. Strong demand for high-bandwidth memory and a sharp rise in memory prices lifted both quarterly sales and operating profit to all-time highs. Samsung expects the growth momentum to continue in the first quarter this year, led by sustained AI and server-driven memory demand. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has made clear that there will be no trade deal with South Korea until the National Assembly formally ratifies it, reinforcing pressure from the Trump administration over stalled legislative approval in Seoul. In an interview with CNBC on Wednesday, Bessent said the South Korean parliament has not passed a trade deal, so there is no trade deal until they ratify it, adding that it would be helpful if things moved along. His remarks referred to South Korea's pending special law on U.S.-bound investment, which Washington sees as a key condition for finalizing the agreement. The U.S. Federal Reserve has kept its benchmark interest rate unchanged, pushing back against continued pressure from President Donald Trump to cut borrowing costs and underscoring the central bank's independence. At the conclusion of its two-day Federal Open Market Committee meeting on Wednesday, the Fed voted to maintain its policy rate in the 3.5 to 3.75% range. The decision follows 3 consecutive rate cuts since last September. The rate freeze means the interest rate gap between South Korea and the higher end of the U.S. rates is 1.25 percentage points. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said inflation remains elevated, and policy decisions will continue to be guided by economic data, not political demands. UN Special Rapporteur on North Korean human rights Elizabeth Salmon will visit South Korea at the start of February. During her visit from next Monday to Friday, she will meet South Korean officials including the second vice foreign minister, civic groups, and North Korean defectors. Salmon is also slated to hold a press conference on the last day of her trip. This marks her third official visit to Seoul since her appointment to the position in August 2022. After her visit, she will submit her reports on North Korea's human rights to the UN Human Rights Council in March and the UN General Assembly in September. U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday warned Iran to accept a nuclear deal or face a far more devastating U.S. attack as American warships moved closer to the country. Trump said a U.S. naval force led by the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln is approaching Iran, calling it an armada, and said time is running out for Tehran to negotiate a deal that would prevent it from developing nuclear weapons. Trump said his previous warning to Iran was followed by military strikes last June, and warned that the next attack would be far worse. Iran responded by saying any U.S. military action would trigger Iranian strikes against the United States, Israel, and their supporters. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Iran's armed forces are ready to immediately respond to any aggression, while adding Tehran remains open to a fair nuclear deal that guarantees no nuclear weapons. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.